In this interview with Harold Jantz, we continue our series on groundbreakers and trailblazers in the MB Church of Canada. Jantz was the editor of the MB Herald from 1964 to 1985, making him the longest-serving editor in the publication's history. In 1987, Jantz founded Christian Week, opening the door to Christian faith and life in Canada. It was a small newspaper with a grand vision of serving an entire evangelical community. To this day, Jantz champions that vision, continuing to tell the story of God's people near and far.
Well, my name is Harold Jantz, and I think of myself as somebody who always loved stories. I grew up in a home where we knew ourselves to be new immigrants to Canada. My parents were amongst those who were the first of the 1920s wave of Mennonites to come to Canada from the Ukraine. And I learned stories from them. It's interesting to me that even though I had this privilege of growing up in a home where both parents had very close, a sense of close affiliation to the conference, to the church, neither of them actually had any really public roles. After university, my intention was to go into teaching. And I taught in our conference high school in Ontario, Eden High School, Eden Christian College, it became later. I taught there for several years. But during that time, I was invited to consider becoming editor of the MB Herald. Well, I came to the Herald in 1964, and I had a very brief introduction to what was involved, and then I was on my own. I was 27. I was quite inexperienced. I really didn't know what I was coming into, but I found myself editing and producing a paper every week, and I was doing the layout. I was doing the taking care of the advertising, as much writing as might be expected from me. Even the circulation. But I have to confess that my family paid some of the price for what I was doing. And Neoma will tell you that she and the children sometimes paid the price for the amount of time I was putting into the magazine. I found some things very challenging. I knew when I went to a conference, especially a Canadian conference, people would expect me to cover everything. But I always felt that this would put me between readers and leaders, or people who provided the direction for the conference and those who were often the readers of the paper. I could speak to both and could reflect both, provided I could do it in the spirit in which I felt our confessional position wanted to represent us. And this gave me, I felt, a great deal of freedom. So after some 20 years with the MB Herald, I thought maybe this would be an appropriate time for me to step back from that. I wasn't doing it because I was unhappy or felt that I was being pushed out. I felt good about stage at which we were, but I felt I could. I still had enough energy in me to start something new. I left the MB Herald in 1985. I took a bit of a break, and then I started working at laying the groundwork for a paper which would do what I was hoping Christian Week might do. We did our first paper came out on April the 1st, 1987. Funny day to have our first issue come out, but we published continuously after that. Well, I always was happy for the opportunity to introduce people that I thought had something important to say to us or could demonstrate something important to us within a conference or more broadly too. So when we produced Leaders Who Shaped Us, I felt this was could be a helpful book, even though it wasn't a real history of Mennonite Brethren in Canada, by reading the stories of 25 important, significant leaders within the Canadian conference. We were saying a lot about our history, and also telling ourselves what some of these leaders had meant to the church. I've always been interested in our own story, and this is where the book Flight came from. I had been working on some family story and reading in the German, the Mennonitische Rundschau, and realized that the years 1929, 1930 were critical years for people who were living in the Soviet Union, where people write about what is happening to them and tell stories that appeared in the paper. There's a writer for the New York Times, his name is David Brooks, who's written a couple of books that have stimulated me a tremendous amount. The first one that he wrote was called, or that I read, was called The Road to Character. And this is a book that tells the stories of maybe a dozen or 15 people. And what he does in this book is take these people and he identifies the struggles that took place in their lives. And he actually provides a summary of the main themes of the book at the end of it. And it reads like biblical theology, because he says, we are all bent wood. We all fail. I think I've always been attracted to stories of people who had struggles. You know, sometimes you come across these writers and they're saying something that just resonates with you, and you recognize, you know, they provide the words for you that express what you have been trying to do. I enjoy reading, and I read widely. I've been doing a fair amount of archival study and writing. On my mother's side, and I've also been writing, doing similar kind of writing about this story on my father's side. I have enjoyed doing that sort of writing.